All right, guys, special treat for you today. Come on, you recognize the white hat, the white shirt. Marty Raney, of course, from Homestead Rescue. He's here in my little hometown, so we're gonna have a chat. I would love to hear his perspective about off-grid living and homesteading. And you know, you do the show Homestead Rescue, of course, but I first became a fan of you during Ultimate Alaska Survival. Oh my gosh, I loved that show. And of course, before that, Marty is a lifelong Alaskan.
Not lifelong.
Not lifelong?
Only 50 years below zero. 50.
That's a lot. You earned that.
So not a lifer. And I'm not a big fan of people that make a big deal about, oh, I was born here. Were you born here?
I appreciate
that. Were you born here?
No.
Okay, well, you know what I mean.
I do.
People are like, I was born here. Were you? What have you done since you've been here? I have a lot.
Thank you.
I think I have more respect for people that were born somewhere else, heard about this wild, beautiful, last frontier, land of extremes place, pulled up stakes, said goodbye to everybody, watched every family member, friend, workmate, associate call you crazy and disappear. And many of them envy you because they want to do something adventurous, but most likely never will. That's my demographic. That's who I am. It's probably who you are.
I absolutely love that. You guys know that is the core of what I preach a lot on this channel about. Just my whole thing is get outside and get happy, but it's about inspiring people to go outside of their box, do things they wouldn't normally do. They wouldn't think they'd have the capability of doing. And so the things that you do on Homestead Rescue, honestly, there's been a couple episodes where I was like, he's gonna die. But before that, you know, he's climbed Denali, he was a guide on Denali. So this is an accomplished man who is still like making things happen here in Alaska and in life in general, which I just so appreciate.
I don't know, thanks, but I don't know that I'm an accomplished man. It's nothing, it's certainly an expression I've never said, probably never will. But I think I know what you're saying. Some interviewers, magazines, whatever, have tried to figure out what it is I really do or who I am, and I'm not even sure I've figured that out yet, but they've said he's kind of I remember one article, he's an all-around Alaskan guy, and I'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
I mean,
good.
we do, you know, a few trades and have a few adventures, but it is really hard. I used to have a business card that just listed all the things we did: log builder, mason, you know, electrician, plumber, excavator. It was all on there. And then the last one was mountain guide, and the last one was a comma. I mean, I don't know, how many things am I going to put on the card? All of that is telling that the guy's probably not that good at any of those things. So that's who we are. But yeah, thank you for that. That's nice. Let's talk about you more than me.
Oh, no, this isn't about me today.
Yeah, let's talk about you. This place is cold.
Okay, well, I'm a snowbird now.
Oh, okay.
So I winter in Michigan now.
Oh, so we shot an episode of Homestead Rescue in Grayling.
Yeah.
And as episodes go, some are better than others. And that has a lot to do with the people that we help. But that couple in Michigan was amazing. They were a good couple, legit. And a crazy story in Michigan, his father-in-law, his dad, was living with him, visiting. I don't know, water was an issue. They had a huge hand pump. They were extracting water from a far, so it was really laborious.
Wow.
Water, trying to keep animals, water, the homestead alive, water for themselves, but physically demanding chore to get water every day. And the dad, or father-in-law, had a heart attack pumping the water and died. My point.
Oh my
hey
gosh.
guys, we've got water issues, which we I believe sorted. But yeah, Michigan was very memorable because some of the reasons people get a hold of us are certainly legitimate, and that was memorable. Michigan was good.
A lot of my audience is really interested in building their own cabin, living off-grid, doing the whole thing. And they don't know where to start. And finding land is the first start. And finding out how to afford it, but also like, what does that land offer? What do you need? What are your goals? What kind of advice would you give to someone who's considering this lifestyle? considering all of the people you've dealt with, what are some of the main problems that come up over and over? I think water, again, is like the number one issue, because you can't live without water.
So let's just talk about what happened this last 10 days. We're in this part of Alaska because a nice, young, beautiful lady whose husband left her with 5 kids, 4 or 5, it's all right. She doesn't complain about it, and she's been packing water since 2016 with kids. What I really liked about her is she's doing her best trying to keep that water from freezing and keep that water sanitary, which is really difficult. I've done this. It's hard to keep it clean. And she's doing it in the coldest place that you can homestead, here.
It's so cold.
I said, so, and she has an outhouse. And I mean, everything about homesteading is compounded, I think, the further north you go, or even in the States, the higher in elevation you go.
Right.
Both have kind of the same challenge: cold weather, shorter growing season, often tougher terrain, more snow, whatever. So this young lady here, and what I'm referring to is an episode of Homestead Rescue that just wrapped last night. I left that homestead, all camera was gone, everyone was gone. What we had done for her was a miracle. We basically dug down with an excavator looking for water in a place where we were told the water was 400 feet.
Right.
We dug down as far as the excavator go. I mean, I knew I was not gonna find water. I knew it, but you don't know until you try. Getting back to your question an hour ago, you know, sitting in a room dreaming about that cabin in the woods is not going to make it happen. But you got to try. You got to make the first step. The hardest step of any adventure, they say, is the first one out your door. Once you've made that step, I mean, the
wheels are in motion.
The wheels are in
Yeah.
motion. The world's your oyster. The sky's the limit. Whatever. This young lady been, I think, struggling, even though she never complained once, needed water. This young lady dreamed about a cabin in the woods and built it with her husband at the time. This young lady came from Oregon. This young lady right here, who's probably 40, I don't know, is the demographic that you're talking about, which is your audience. She's the epitome.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And instead of me pontificating, and you know, I mean, this is kind of a touchstone. I just, like I said, I'm going there to pick the tools up. This is raw. This is visceral. This.
Exactly.
I'm trying to answer your question, but it's, you know, the long version. I see it time after time where I have a lot of respect for, back to what we first referenced, people that have a dream and make it happen, whether it's right there or pull up stakes and do it, which in fact this lady and her family did. Built the cabin. First problem was water. So we're gonna pack it until we can afford a well, I assume. Most people, like me, don't have a lot of money when you choose that lifestyle. You're not a shaker and mover. You're not a corporate person. You don't have most of the time, you don't have a full-time job and 401k. You're just not that demographic. You can be, but most of us aren't.
Yeah.
So, you know, you buy a piece of land that might not be on a lake or a river. So where's the water coming from? Many people in the early stages find that piece of land and are looking for water. Can't afford a well. This is her, you know, life story. So I dug down as deep as I could with an excavator, and of course, I did not hit water. And I was like, ah. But then I thought, I can't quit. I mean, I'm not, there's more things I can do here. So I backed the excavator up and dug a huge hole, big enough to drive the excavator down in and start over. I'll dig down again.
Wow. Did that work? Aw.
And and we struck water. Complete miracle in any definition, metaphor you want to translate that into, but I couldn't believe it, but I had to believe it, and I did believe it.
So you're taking through, I mean, this area is known for bedrock, and I mean, I don't think I would have even tried.
That's the thing, that right there, young lady, you nailed it. So apologize for my emotions, and this happens a lot.
I love it. I love it. It means something to you. That's impressive.
Well, when I show up on these homesteads, I meet these people. Indeed, it's a TV show, but it's much, much more. 100% real, by the way. Every frame, 100% authentic. Fired a lot of people in LA that, or from, I don't care where they're from, that didn't want to get on board with authenticism. But anyway,
Appreciate
so
that.
I gathered the kids together. I gathered her family around. We walked to the edge of the hole, and she looked down, and she was shocked. She looks like you, by the way, and she just about your size and looked kind of like you, and she just was. I mean, I'll never forget it. She was in complete shock because what it meant. I mean, it was hard for your being to represent what it meant. It meant in that second she looked over and looked down and saw water and lots of it.
So was it seeping up or what?
Well, what I did is hit the water table. It was.
Oh my gosh.
It was shallow enough there, so we were probably 8 feet deep, and which is plenty deep enough. And out in the middle of nowhere, it's probably cleaner than a well 1,000 feet deep, frankly. Anyway, so that happened. A lot of things, and her life changed in an instant. So what we did is we developed it. We got 30 feet of culvert, 36 inches. I'm getting a flashback because it was about the size of this table. Stabbed it down in there, pumped it out 1 million times. It recovered 1 million times, and it was 15 gallons a minute.
Oh
so
my gosh.
she could have a condominium project over there if she wants.
Wow.
Dug a 100-foot water line. At 20 feet from the house, we hit permafrost.
Right.
Which is going to be the theme of this episode.
Absolutely. This whole area is full of it.
Yeah, which was like, no. And so now we had to break out heaters and thaw the ground before we could even get the water at our house. So challenge after challenge after challenge, where a lot of people would quit. They might have quit when they had a dream to make that first step out the door and never left Oregon or Michigan and moved to Alaska or Montana, Idaho, wherever. They would have never built that cabin with limited resources and made it happen. They would have never hauled water since 2016. They might have asked somebody to help them. Maybe maybe they would have rented an excavator and thought, let's try it, honey. Dug down, didn't strike water. But you go the extra mile. You don't quit before you start. And so I dropped that excavator down. By the way, I don't know if I've ever done that before. I would probably have, but I just knew that it was, I was convinced it was futile. I even told her on camera, as I recall, we're not going to find water, but I have to try. And we called every well driller within at least 100 miles.
That was going to be my question. Why didn't you just try to drill a well?
Well, very good question. Our budget is striking. Our budget is small. You would think, oh, you're on the Discovery Network. Yeah, Discovery Network has a lot of money. But on this show, the build budget that's allotted us, Misty, Matt, and I, and our little team, is really small. And I'm sure there's obvious reasons for that, but it has not all bad because it forces us
I was just going to say that.
to think like you and that lady out there, lovely lady, and scores, and frankly, you could almost say millions of people that are living this lifestyle or in the process of it. They've bought the land, don't know if they're hesitant to make that first step, but it's millions of people. I'm sure someone's got a statistic out there, but millions of people. It's a groundswell across North America, and I've heard it's across the planet, exacerbated by COVID. It's like
Absolutely.
You know,
I have found the same thing.
people want to get out of the city.
That's right.
Whether it's Bangkok, Anchorage, Seattle, or Minneapolis.
Back to your point, I feel like adversity, the less money you have, the more likely you are to have the grit to actually pull it off. I feel like if you go into it with a lot of money, it's too easy. We've never had a lot of money to start projects, and we lived for 10 years without running water here with our kids growing up.
That's right there. Really? For real?
Yeah, so I know that feeling.
Well, I never met you before 10 minutes ago.
Right.
But that's legit. Holy moly. I've never done that. Not 10 years.
So our kids grew up taking baths in like Rubbermaid totes. And,
What? Nice. That's
outhouses.
what's going on out there. I mean, was.
Yeah. So that grit to actually just ride it out. Like there's no way we had money to put a well in.
Yeah.
There's no way that was going to happen. And we ended up buying this piece of land that had we're always like, we're buying other people's broken dreams, where you come up on a property that has stuff on it.
Might have to use that line on the next episode.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's someone's broken dream. That's a good one.
Because they have
If anyone hears that on the next episode, came right from me. Go ahead.
So we find land that other people have given up on for one reason or another. It's a cheaper price, lower cost of entry, and then you have to have the vision to see what's possible on that land. So we've always been those people. Well, this one piece of property we bought burnt down the buildings because it was just decrepit, junk. Guess what we found? A well casing. So we pumped that sucker out, and we had our first water in 10 years. That was a good moment.
Oh my Lord.
So then we built the house over the well casing, and we had a well.
Oh, that's a really good idea. I have seen that in our travels where people actually bought, and more often than not, I don't quite understand it, but for the people I've ran into, it actually worked out, where they bought land sight unseen.
Yes.
I'm like, what?
We just did that here again.
Really? Well, but I'm not that devil's advocate guy, because what I witnessed multiple times is every one of these people really scored.
Yes.
The land was amazing.
Yes.
There was two properties that I can think of where they bought the land sight unseen. Believe it or not, there was a well on the property that they didn't know they had.
I've heard of that before too.
And we discovered it.
Yeah.
We're like, do you know what this is? No, what is that? You got a well.
You got a well.
Then we drop it. Now it's got water. We check it out. It's got a little enough water to run the homestead, and they didn't know it. So in fact, I just shot an interview yesterday. That was kind of the theme of that interview was know your land.
Conversation.
Well, we're just kind of having a...
Here, sit down.
Are you this guy on the
Come here.
TV
Don't be
show?
dumb. You're on TV. Come over here. No. Come over here.
I'm actually filming,
I
so you
know.
have to
Come
be on
over
this
here.
side.
Oh,
We have a new entrance to the interview. Come on, sit down.
This is our build producer on the show.
Oh, hi. I'm
You're
Brooke.
being.
nice to meet you, Brooke.
Your name is Bill?
Kai,
Kai.
This is Kai.
Oh, okay. You said build, not Bill.
Bill.
build producer.
Nice to meet you, Kai.
Yeah. So tell this young man who you are.
Oh, I have a YouTube channel called Girl in the Woods. We're all about, off-grid homestead stuff.
Let me translate
So-
that. She did live off grid for 10 years, raising kids. Hold on, without any water. Yeah. So I've been sharing with her. Probably don't want to bore you, telling her what's fresh in our minds
Yeah, I'm
of
not
what
alone,
took place
though.
here. What took place here in the last
Yeah.
10 days.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
I know so many people that live this lifestyle.
Yeah.
Still, I'm not a superwoman. I'm not a superhero. Many people in Alaska live like this. So, but the sight unseen land thing, I think if you have a general idea of the area, which is where we have bought sight unseen, we've bought 3 properties sight unseen now and have scored on each and every one of them. So I think you can get really lucky. You can find stuff that has been overlooked, and you find surprises. We found an abandoned survival bunker on it. We could see from the Google Earth there was something there. Dig through, find this concrete bunker, right? It is crazily built. Like, this guy didn't know what he was doing. He just built this. It was like all concrete with like concrete stucco on the outside. We figured it was probably about 20 years ago, about Y2K time, and it collapsed. It was just full of like prepper supplies.
Was he under there?
I thought so. We really thought. But no, we had learned he had passed away. So the family was just getting rid of the land. Well, what a joy that piece of property is. This survival bunker, I cleaned out. I mean, it was the nastiest thing. I wish you could see it, because I need a vision for what I can turn that into. I don't know if I want to turn it into anything. It's kind of in the crappy.
Have you watched the news lately? Yes or no?
I try not to watch too much news.
Well, I think you found a use for the bunker. Move in it. See if you can survive this approaching apocalypse.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so just wrapped. We've been on the road a year almost.
Wow.
And brutal, in every way.
It was easy.
It's easy for me, but it's a lot.
It doesn't look like it.
But it's a lot of work. And
Yeah,
the brutal,
it's a lot of-
brutal is just the road, being gone from Alaska, dealing with
you're all over
dealing
the
with
country.
production.
Yeah.
Everyone's in the process of trying to figure it out, but it's greenlit.
That's good.
But
it's always good to hear that.
But I'm doing the first 2 episodes. In my contract, it's like, yeah, okay, if I come back, the next 2 episodes will be in Alaska, the first block. So I'm here longer.
Nice.
August, September.
Yeah.
And we've got 2 lined up already, but man, if your son's doing something, it could be an episode.
Well, here's where I'm concerned for him. What I'm worried about my son is he's in an area where there's so much open. He borders a bison farm, and then he's got the mountains. It's amazing. He's got about $5,000 to play with, so this kid's got to make things happen. But he's in an area where in the spring, because there's so much snow that comes blowing in, and it just kind of floods in there for a couple weeks. And so he's got to build up a bit. And
His property floods.
a couple weeks of the year. According to my realtor friend.
That's just what we heard from, this is what we built, this lady out here at Salcha.
Yeah.
Same thing, we heard the same story. We're looking out there in the
Right.
forest, we don't see it.
Yeah,
We don't.
same.
I took a hike.
Same.
Where's it coming from? And
Same.
I never figured out. She doesn't know where the flood's coming from, but we weirdly never witnessed the problem, heard the problem, saw videos of the problem, and never finding the source of the problem did ultimately make a cure. Huge ditch, trench, swale. So when it does come,
Right.
and in fact, when I leave this conversation, even though the show's wrapped, everyone's gone, everyone's flown back to LA, wherever. We're gonna head out there now and figure out, just make sure that we've engineered this trench ditch to accommodate waters that aren't there now.
Yeah, that's
and
what
pick
I'm-
her brain one last time. Is this big enough, long enough, wide enough? Does it look like it's gonna be away from the house? So that's the last thing, and then we'll head back to our homestead
Neck
at
of the
Hatcher
woods,
Pass, about
yes.
6 hours away.
Yeah. Do you live there too?
I was born in Alaska.
Nice.
Yep.
Oh, there's a life longer. Right there.
Look at me. I'm not anti-life longer.
No, I know.
But you've ran into these Alaskans.
Oh, I do. I can't tolerate it at
and
all.
what I don't like
really
about it,
don't.
I could care less, but what I don't like is when it's said to somebody that just got here. Oh, we've been here 2 years, and then somebody's like, I've been here since my grandpa.
Absolutely.
Well, my grandpa went over the Chilkoot. That guy, your grandpa, is cool. What have you done?
Right.
What are you doing?
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Anyway, I guess that we have in common.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sensitive to that. I don't like it.
Oh, I am too.
Because
I appreciate
I'm
it.
always for the underdog.
Yeah.
If there's a guy at the table that he's lived in Alaska the least, you know,
Right, they feel like
who
crap.
cares?
Right.
Right?
Right. What do you see some common mistakes being made since you've seen so many people pull this off? What are the most common mistakes people are making doing this on their own? What are they missing? What are some things you can say, don't forget to do this, make sure you look at that? What would you say?
Hold on. Is this come from a lady that just told me that she's bought half a dozen pieces of property?
It's worked
sight
out.
unseen?
And it's worked out.
Okay. It has.
So I do say with an abundance of caution, if you're gonna go that route, you got the balls to do that, go for it. But know that you don't know what you don't know.
Oh, nice. There's another line that I'll be using on the show, and she won't be getting credit. I go
That's like 3 now. I'm gonna keep track.
what would you say?
I
I
talk
would say
loud.
just stretching resources too far. They go so far into it, and then they have no money, and then they can't make any decisions. You can't do anything after that.
That's a good answer.
So what would you say would be your priority? Like, where do you stop the resources when you run out? Like, what is priority? Like, for me, it's water, bathroom, like roof over your head, and keeping warm. Like, those are kind of like the basic.
I applaud. I've never criticized. I don't criticize human beings, period. I'm not wired that way. I'm just not critical, frankly, of hardworking people with limited resources. That's my people.
Yeah.
That's my demographic. I've struggled my whole life, not complaining, raising a family, 4 kids, and as a contractor, small time, much of it concrete related, and I relate to these people. And I'm not critical of it. You know, I applaud them that they had, let's say your son, $5,000 to get started. It's not a lot, but it's
enough.
And
I think so too.
And he's getting started. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And if he's out there in a wall tent,
He is.
he'll be happy. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And if he's out, and then if he, you know, in this young lady's case, if she moves out there and makes her dream come true, she's happy. And this, trust me, that lady that we just worked on her homestead the last week or so, she's going to be there 20 years from now, no doubt in my mind. She just loves it. I get it. But she doesn't have a lot of money. I get that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hauling water since 2016, that's over. We discovered water. Had we not found her water, she would still, I would say, struggle trying to haul water at 300 gallons, what did you say, a week or every 2 weeks?
Every week.
300 gallons a week, and make it happen.
Wow.
But she's happy. That's the thing.
Because that's the key.
And all of these, not you perhaps, but all of the books, I wrote a book, it's not, there's not one negative, this is the
I
rant.
love your book.
This is the rant. This is the rant. There's no, I don't think there's one critical mark in there. You never hear me criticize people on the show. I think many producers would like me to point out what they've done wrong. I'm not going to do it because it's not what a nice person does, and I'm not wired that way. It's like, oh, you know, you built this. You moved to the coldest place in the world, Alaska, and you built this little cabin out of 2x4 walls. You know, oh, cool, looks great. You did a good job, but you know, and then we'll
Let's do something a little bit warmer.
yeah, maybe we'll add something to that wall.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I love your book, and there's a lot of great nuggets in there that can kind of help guide people in that way. I found it very, very informative.
but it's about, I think, just as strange and cliche, maybe not strange, but common cliche. There's a lot of people that are stressed out in this world, and any semblance of peace of mind or less stress, relaxation, independent, living free, simple, all of these words really do mean something. And thank you. And I think if a person just gets out there and gets started, let's say like your son, and they're struggling and the money runs out and they have to wait till they get another $500
That's right.
or
That's right.
$2,500. and they know where every cent's going to go.
Yeah.
It's gonna go on that chicken coop. It's going to go on fencing. It's going to go on an upgraded outhouse. It's going to go, maybe a few years later, it's going to go into a well. It's going to go into a septic system.
Right.
You know, and
it's steps.
yeah.
I think as long as you're okay with, like, you know, our society wants everything now. You want to move in, you want to have everything. And I think for people with a limited income, that off-grid dream needs to come in sections, and it needs to come in little bites of your dream at a time, where buying the land feels like just a win right off the bat. Mm-hmm. Getting the land cleared feels like a win. Getting your foundation, like building something, every little piece is a win. And even your first 5-gallon bucket of water that you have to put in, haul from somewhere else, feels like a win because you're actually doing it. And I feel like there's just such power in that, and that will propel you to just keep going, and that's where happiness lies.
Right.
Is my son says, toil for your food.
Oh, wow.
He says, if I run out of money and I can't be where I need to be by winter, I'm gonna have to get a job and find a place to be and save some more money and get right back at it, you know? And I think that attitude is key if you want to jump into this kind of lifestyle. And it is a lot harder with a family, much harder.
Speaking from experience?
Absolutely. I mean, when we moved from Fairbanks to here, my son was 6 months old,
Wow.
and my daughter was 2.
I'm impressed. You're tough.
And we lived in a 12-foot camper with 2 dogs and 3 cats, and we built our garage first, and my husband was sick. And then we lived in the garage for 2 years while we built the log home.
Nice.
So it's like you do what you can do, and you live where you live until you just keep upgrading.
Why are you asking me any questions?
You have so much experience.
No, I don't know. I don't know, to be honest, darling, because how many skills, I mean, how many skill sets, if you will, do you need to do what you just said? I mean, we're all in this together. You buy a piece of land, you live in a camper, you build the log home, you at some point, and it's all the same. You get into that log home, then you just grow that homestead dream and property or whatever at the same time. And that's the crux. Were you unhappy?
No.
Exactly.
No.
So,
because you're owning your life. You're owning every little thing that you do. It's from your work. It's from your toil. You are making it happen, and that makes people just come alive, I think.
let's talk about this. How many people, more than, I already know the answer, but how many people do you interact with that say they want to do it, they're gonna do it?
Everybody. Everybody wants to do it.
And I think, and you and I both know, 99% of them could do it.
Yes, and they don't believe that they can. And they're held up by possessions. They're held up by limitations of their expectations of themselves. Like, I don't have the skills, so what? You'll get the skills if you just start.
Yeah. And I agree. And
Go ahead, don't.
Now I'm gonna eat.
Go get your food.
Very nice to meet you.
You too.
The cameo visit.
Yeah.
There could be more. More of our crews coming in.
Oh, sweet.
So yeah, so I'm inundated on this thing every day from people all over the world.
I don't doubt it. I am as well.
But yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing. And you want to, I do anyway, I want to interact with everyone from Italy, Brazil, and Australia, and I mean everywhere from all over the world. It's the same.
It's the same.
How do I get started? I want to do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm saving my money, and I just want to sit them all down. I want to sit 100,000 people down and say, You can do this if you really want.
Yes.
And you'll never be sorry if you make that leap. You'll never be sorry. It'll be the best decision you ever made in your life. It's not going to be easy, but you're going to be inside, viscerally, you will be happy. Your life will take a completely different direction, but it's a direction where you will learn, probably for the first time, things about freedom, things about independence, things about self-reliance, and if you grow food and garden, self-sufficiency, and have your life in the reins of your own life in your own hands, and not trapped in this, what everyone called an American dream for decades, where the houses are lined up cookie cutter and everyone can see what cars you drive, or how you dress, or how many parties you throw, or if you have the pool. And and I think we all know now that all of those people, if you will, all of those people survive on credit.
Oh yeah.
The banks own every one of those houses, and then those people have to make those payments or the banks take them back.
Yeah.
So they are locked into a commute, into a concrete jungle where they're not happy, and they're spending a lot of their time on the road. And that's the American dream. And for many of us, we've looked at that, we may have lived it, we may be living it now, and question that this in fact is any sort of a satisfying dream. I personally think not. Once you discover there's something else that's less stressful, less pressure, less angst, burdensome, less competitive. It's all it's competition, and life's short, you know.
Yeah, I heard an interesting thing the other day that has really stuck with me. I was listening to a podcast, and I don't remember which one to give it credit, but the guy was talking about the days you have left, and you should, let's say
What's that guy's number?
Right.
I need
average.
I need an infusion.
I know.
I need a affirmation, positive affirmation. Our days are running out, Kai.
Yeah. The average American male is living to 75. The average American female, 80. And if you take where you are right now, and you do the math, and you put take those days, and you put them on a calendar, and you just start marking off your days, boy, that'll really make you realize what is going to be important with the days you have left. What do you want to be doing? Where do you want your energy to be focused? Mm-hmm. And if you're waiting for the money, waiting for the right time, waiting for the right circumstance, the right job, the right relationship to come along before you actually do the things that you think are going to fulfill you, you're going to go to the grave going, I wish, I wish, I wish.
Speaking of graves, I've said more than one time, this demographic of hundreds, there's 330 million Americans, maybe hundreds of millions of people locked into this way of life. I mean, these cities are teeming with people. And it's, if you look at this as the epicenter, there's a city, but all this urban sprawl is just people trying to live close enough to that epicenter of occupation, right?
Right.
And so,
right.
I mean, and then the next layer is people that opted to not live as busy. And then there's other layers where many people like you and your family, perhaps us, prefer to all of this. We prefer to escape it instead of embrace it. We've tried it, and it's not satisfying. We've tried it, and it's stressful. We've tried it, and we're not happy. So, this life, city, concrete, pavement, congestion, is for many. But many of those people, if they were honest with themselves, I know, because just like you, we're contacted every day by many people from all over the world, and it's the same unhappiness, unrest. They're in a rut.
Yeah.
You can't get out. But if a rut gets deep enough, it resembles a grave.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Right?
I'm gonna steal that one.
You can have it. It resembles a grave. You're in too deep. So all I do is I show up and meet these people. I listen to them, and then we just work
I've seen it.
harder than anybody
Yeah.
could ever imagine. Not set and boast. And then last night we wrapped at 8 o'clock at night, and people had to catch planes. They had to race to Fairbanks, catch their planes to get back to LA, whatever. So a bunch are leaving today. My point, and this is every episode, we don't have dinner, go to town, have lunch, hang out, slap each other on the back. It's just work.
Yeah.
And so I really don't have time to visit or know these people. We're just working, trying to help them.
Yeah.
My point, so last night at 8 was indicative, was, just like all the other last minutes being on that homestead, where we got to go. So we bring everybody together and say goodbye. Thank you, hey, we hope we helped you. You have a beautiful family. And then they say, thanks for coming. But that scene can get pretty emotional. And but I didn't get emotional last night. I got emotional sitting here, because whether it's in that scene or completely alone in my truck driving back 7 hours to my homestead, or sitting with you, which just happened, I'll just be overcome with what just took place.
You're kind of in the moment there, and you're getting stuff done, and you can't really process it.
I know.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, their lives truly will never be the same.
How meaningful that work that you did is for them.
The work that all of us did.
Right.
And it'll just hit me. I'm like, if we hadn't have visited them, that wouldn't have happened. And now you can times that by, 100 episodes?
I know.
So,
what season is this now? It's been on a lot of years.
Excuse me.
7? 11?
Yeah, so how that works.
I know it's not years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they break it up sometimes. But,
wow.
But this is indeed, we wrapped season 11 last night.
Oh my goodness.
And like I said, we left there, what did we leave there, 9 o'clock? 8:30. And then we all left, and everybody's wrapping up, and we, said goodbye. That's it. Until the next season,
So are you filming like 2 kind of seasons a year-ish?
Yes,
Or are you
yes,
doing
exactly.
a few months at a time?
At this point, yes, but we've been on the road for almost a year.
My goodness.
Here we are almost 1 year later wrapping.
Yeah.
Just coincidentally, but thankfully, because I love filming in Alaska. I love helping Alaskans. That's my people. But yeah, so it's just strange how, and I don't spend any time ever thinking about it. I go home and, we're trying to, right now today, we've got, 3 trucks headed back to the valley, all these tools, but we're making a plan. We'll put all the tools on 1 truck, have 3 empty trucks, so we can stop on a river on the way back home and load all those trucks with river rock for a masonry project.
Oh gosh, for your homestead?
For ours and others.
Yeah.
The point, it never ends.
Never ends.
We're always working.
I think that should be the theme. It never ends.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
ends.
true. It never ends.
And for some people, it never ends.
starts.
well, for some people, it never ends might connote something bad or negative.
Well.
Right?
Yeah.
So what?
That's true.
So,
it's a perspective.
So what camp of it never ends do you want to be in?
That's right.
You know?
That's interesting.
In this lifestyle, it never ends, and I think a good way. There's always challenges. You are tested to figure those challenges out. If you want to make your life better, smoother, healthier. We haven't even talked about that. I haven't said that word one time in this conversation, sadly. But the lifestyle that we're talking about is much healthier, which does lead to less stress, which does lead to, you know, calm, serenity, everything good. And it does, and all the things that money can't buy.
Yeah, that's putting the thumb on it.
All the things money can't buy, and yet all the things that anyone can attain.
Yes.
But it does take enough belief in your dream to commit.
So I think what we have established here is that you need to take the first step. And your dream, if you're going to go after it and you're determined, you will succeed. In one way or another, and it may take a lot longer than you think it will, or it may not look like you initially thought it would. Maybe the journey is going to be way different. But at the end of that journey, you're going to be so fulfilled that you actually took the chance, you actually did something. I'm a big advocate of taking action instead of just, you know, mentally. But that is part of the dream. It's just the actual process, and there you have it. It's really not about what skills you need and what great piece of land you have. It is about the actual journey and like taking it and going for it. And I mean, thank you so much. Well stated. I mean, that's the summation of it all. You know, we could have sat down here and talked about the best chicken coop and, you know, the best type of soil for a garden, the coolest, strongest, most durable greenhouse, all of it. But really, none of that matters unless you are in that environment where you're doing, living, needing those things. Without a plan, it seemed like we just sat down at this coffee table and without discussing it, we were like, hey, none of that really matters because we're frankly addressing that significant demographic of people that want to do it and for whatever reason aren't doing it, and we certainly share that common thread where we're advocates of do it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and you'll never. I say this. I believe this. You'll never be sorry about it. You'll never be sorry. I guarantee you, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
But you'll never be sorry about that.
And I always think of failure.
About it being. Excuse me. You'll never be sorry about that type of change.
Absolutely.
Going from suburbia, if you will, to the country, you know, million songs about it.
Yeah. I always think of failure as information. And it just gives you more information to keep chugging along to the thing to get success. And success can be so many variables of success, you know. But, you know, I just encourage, and you know, it doesn't even have to be an off-grid homestead. Maybe you've always wanted to build a raised garden box, and that's your first, you know, outside of the box thing you've ever wanted to do is pick up a power tool and build a garden box. And that is the first thing to give yourself just the courage to just take the next step. And I even like that, like just putting your shoes on, stepping out the door, and making that decision can start that snowball. I don't know. You get it. I know you get it.
No, I like it. I ran into a teacher. His name was Bird. I asked him if he was related to Admiral Byrd. I can't remember the answer. But I do remember him telling me a story where he went to they were in California, and he said some buddy of his invited him to go hear Ken Kesey speak. Ken Kesey wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. After the lecture by Ken Kesey, this guy goes, "You want to go out to his place?" They went out to his place. And so here was this, world famous guy, had this success, and they went out there and he lived in a refurbished barn. And all he ever wanted to do it at that point in his life, he'd had the successes, but all he really wanted to do was something he had learned, and I don't know how he came by it. Maybe he was raised on a farm. All he wanted to do was be in his garden, barefoot, raising food. No limelight, no, pomp and circumstance, glitter was behind him, because he had discovered true contentment and peace of mind. I don't know why that story stuck with me, but barefoot in the garden.
It's very visceral.
Yeah.
You can feel yourself in a garden with a warm tomato smell and your feet in the dirt, and you can feel it.
There you go. So I'm not that poetic, but there is some certain connection with getting away from the concrete, the city. If you're living anywhere where you cannot see the stars in the night sky, you can't see the northern lights because of the artificial light, I think you're missing out on things that are really important. Nature.
I feel that way about silence as well.
Silence?
Yeah,
Oh, wow, good.
traffic noise and just noise. You can just hear silence. It's just, for me, silence is really, I like that silence.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Back to the thread, I guess I made that, I referred to that once, but political narratives aside, if that's even possible today, I'm apolitical. Certainly read, certainly listen, certainly watch. But all of that aside, I really connect with the common thread that is woven through every homesteader, through every homestead. There's commonality, and we're just sitting down here with you, who I never have seen before. It's just like we have so much in common.
Right.
We understand so much about each other just because of things we discuss.
Yeah.
But all homesteaders know exactly what we're talking about. It's hard to get started. It's hard to commit. You have to believe in that dream. The talking's over.
That's right. The talking's over.
It's a moment it's a leap.
Yeah.
Look before you leap, but leap. And every homesteader story is kind of the same. We didn't have a lot of money. We didn't know what we were doing. We made this mistake. And I've said it many times on camera or off. It doesn't matter to me. There are no scripts on my show, but I've said it on many homesteads, and it's true. I've never met a homesteader that's made as many mistakes as me. Never met one. Now, other authors and probably YouTubers, I'm not going to say that, because somebody will take that and go, he doesn't know anything. He says he doesn't know anything. There's always that guy, right? Yeah. But it's true. But I've been doing it a long time, working. I've made a lot of mistakes. The key is, if I learned from half of them, then I might save myself some heartache, money, and time. So, if you're not doing anything, you're probably not going to make any mistakes, which means you're missing out on a huge education.
That's right. All right, one last question. I'll let you go. I've had you here a long time. The white shirt, the white hat, the white scarf, the white truck. What is this? What is this?
Where'd you go? Kai, help me.
I've never seen you in anything else. I just want to know the story behind the white shirt and the white hat.
There is no story. There's no story, and there's never been an agenda. I quit school and left home in Washington, And the next day I was a logger. High lead logging,
Oh, wow.
extremely dangerous. I died 1,000 times out there, somehow survived. So loggers wear the same thing every day.
Yeah.
Cut off jeans,
Yeah.
suspenders, and a rigging or logging shirt, little
Yeah.
stripes on it,
Cork boots.
cork boots. And I would get up in the morning at 5, I'd put my cork boots on, and I'd go home at midnight with them still on. I walked into restaurants, I went to movies, went to the Seattle Coliseum once and saw George Harrison in my cork boots. That's a fact. And I'm not bragging. I mean, I was
Were the spikes still in them?
with the spikes in them. Not kidding, terrible. But I was a logger, and I was going to be the biggest, baddest logger in the world. 16, 17, 18, I ended up in Alaska. I'm logging in Southeast Alaska, Ketchikan, Prince of Wales, Sitka, Haines, where we ended up on a 160-acre homestead. And I was like, man, this is wild. This is quiet. This is
For
free.
sure.
This is free. We were flat broke, but I still remember and miss Haines, Alaska, and that Chilkoot Valley.
It's
But anyways,
beautiful.
so if that Marty Raney saw a guy in this getup, he would fight him. He'd call him out there. I'm serious. He'd call him out there, make fun of him, and fight him. Even though I'm a Hatcher pacifist now. But so I really don't. I've been asked this question many times. I don't really know. It just evolved with no, that wasn't like. And I think I wore a black or a brown hat, 30 years ago. So I don't really know the answer.
It's interesting.
And it was no agenda. And but to be honest, this company got a hold of me and said, "Hey,
I do.
you buy a lot of shirts. You want
Yeah.
to be sponsored? You want to be sponsored?" So,
Yeah, right.
So
It's a nice shirt.
Frontier Classics. Thank you very much. And Stetson said,
Yes.
"You wear a lot of white hats. You want to be sponsored?" Thank you, Stetson.
So, I love
So now I don't really have to pay for them.
it. Right.
So
That's a perk.
But if I did, that would be fine because I did long before they came on board. So I don't know, there's no really good answer where, I was walking down a trail and, the heavens opened up and a light shined down and I went, "Oh, now you will now wear white."
You're just the opposite of Johnny Cash. The man in black, the man in white.
Well, funny you should say that. So we are musicians,
Right.
allegedly.
Of course.
And one time, after being asked this question many times, I thought maybe I should write a song about it. Now, I've never sang it publicly, and I was right. I had all my songs in a bin we burnt to the ground a couple years ago.
I know. I'm
But I
sorry
had all
about that.
yeah. Well, but all the songs got. I had a box like this with songs from far back as Sitka in the 70s, and poems and stuff, and it all burned up. But we're so busy working, I didn't resurrect that song, and I can't believe you just said that, what you just said, because now I'm getting this memory of this song I wrote. I'm going to try to get through it as far as I can remember.
Okay.
So based on that Johnny Cash song, right? You ask me why I'm always dressed in black. Why I never see bright colors on my back. That song, right? You know that's the one you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought, what if I just wrote a song about this question, right? Why are you always wearing white? So I grabbed my pen and I wrote this. Try it again. All right. So you ask me why I'm always dressed in white. White cowboy hat, white shirt, both day and night. Well, I live in Alaska where the winters are so long, and there's a reason for the whiteys I have on. We're the only state with a snow white polar bear and 100,000 white glaciers everywhere. Where 7 months of winter turned 3 million lakes to ice. Tell Bing Crosby in December, everything is white. Our mountain goats and dull sheep wear shirts of white. Our eagles and our seagulls wear hats of white. And yes, we have a red fox, but of course a white one too. And from time to time, a snow white caribou. And it goes on.
Oh my gosh.
It goes on.
That's fantastic.
It goes on. It's not fantastic.
It's the debut. We got it right here on this channel.
No, it's got some lines in there that I might have to change. If you've got me early in the morning singing, you've done something very wrong. You ready to go back to work, Kai?
Go back to work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate
You're lovely.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time. I caught him out of nowhere. I left a note, and he called me. So,
Is that it?
I mean, it was like a tore off piece of note paper.
Hey, let's do a hack. Let's do a hack. All right. Now that's how you pour salt. Comes out. But when you pour pepper, it never wants to come out. Take your pepper shaker and just rub the salt here.
Huh.
Look at that.
That is actually something.
It's not that big of a hack.
I've never seen it.
You're lovely.
Thank you.
Hey, should we take her with us? She's coming with us. All right. Yeah, we'll see you later, darling. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I really
You're welcome.
appreciate it.
Sorry about the mess.
That's, not my mess.
Clean up on table 4.
How cool is that? That just turned out so good to bump into him. What a great guy and a big heart. I'm a big fan. So check out his show, Homestead Rescue, and we'll see you in the next video, guys. This is Girl in the Woods. She gone. Oh, don't forget to get outside and get happy.